Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, November 29th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. With the pandemic still ongoing, the virus is changing, and one new mutation is causing concern around the world tonight. President Biden says the best way to protect yourself against this new threat is to make sure you are vaccinated. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman explains why officials are taking action now.
This variant is a cause for concern, not a cause for panic.
A new, potentially more infectious strain of coronavirus called Omicron has already resulted in some travel restrictions, and experts are warning that current vaccines could be less effective.
Sooner or later, we're going to see cases of this new variant here in the United States. We'll have to face this new threat just as we faced those that come before it.
Omicron was first reported last week in South Africa, and President Biden says travel restrictions are meant to buy time for people to get vaccinated. Federal officials are also looking into potential boosters targeting the variant if they're needed.
You can just think of it as two viruses trying to fight over the same food, which is humans, and the one that is able to infect the most are the ones that win. And it has been Delta for a long time, and it looks like this new kid on the block, Omicron, might be as good as Delta.
Dr. Davey Smith is chief of infectious diseases at UC San Diego Health. He says that officials are on the lookout for the strain.
And if we see Omicron, we'll let people know for sure. I do think that the variant is probably already here somewhere in the United States, and it is only a matter of time until we pick it up.
Smith says there's more we're learning every day about the variant, but at the moment it does not appear to be associated with an increased risk of hospitalization.
However, it is very new. It is very, this is all hot off the presses.
Smith says the more contagious Delta variant had 3 or 4 mutations, while Omicron has around 30.
So there is a very good chance that the vaccine does not work as well for this variant as it did for other variants. But of course, we're testing that out, and we're looking to see if this is true.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
A legal snag for the San Diego Unified School District's COVID-19 vaccination mandate collided with a critical deadline today. This was supposed to be the last day eligible students 16 and up could receive their first dose in order to be fully vaccinated by the start of the spring semester and attend classes in person. KPBS education reporter MG Perez has more on the legal action that stopped it.
The San Diego Unified UCSD Health COVID-19 vaccination van is back from the holiday and getting more shots in arms by the hour. Today, adults and children received vaccinations, while news spread of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals granting an emergency injunction to stop the district mandate requiring eligible students 16 and up to have their first dose today. The injunction was granted on behalf of a Scripps Ranch High School student claiming a religious exemption, which the district does not allow. The critical component of the injunction had to do with the assumption that the district was allowing vaccine deferrals for pregnant students. To paraphrase the legal language, the court said as long as those students aren't required to get COVID-19 shots, the plaintiffs shouldn't be required either, and the court will terminate the injunction if that option is removed. So far, the district has not released an official response to the ruling. If the mandate stands, students would have to get the second vaccine dose by winter break December 20th. A student would be out of compliance if they tried to attend classes in person January 3rd and did not meet the deadlines. The attorney representing the family of the Scripps Ranch High School student says she is a devout Christian attending a local church with a strong belief that the Pfizer vaccine was developed with historical research from aborted fetuses.
We're going to pursue this case all the way to the Supreme Court, and I'll just remind you that the Supreme Court is conservative right now. We've got a very good majority. We know how they think about these issues. So ultimately, we will vindicate these rights.
For now, vaccinations continue, and so does the wait on a final decision. MG Perez, KPBS News.
And just moments ago, an attorney for San Diego Unified released a statement saying the district expects the order to be short-lived and that the vaccination mandate will be upheld. And the Biden administration is reportedly allowing some federal agencies to delay firing unvaccinated employees. They will now have until after the holidays to terminate those who have not followed the mandate. One official called the move, quote, an education and counseling period. They're hoping those who have put it off will vax up to save their jobs. San Diego City employees could soon be fired if they refuse to get vaccinated for COVID-19. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the police officers' union tried to fight the mandate.
Police officers have the lowest vaccination rate among city employees at just under 63%. The city council voted 8-1 Monday to back Mayor Todd Gloria's vaccine mandate over the police union's pushback. Gloria says COVID-19 outbreaks are disrupting city services. More than 1 million people have faced delayed trash collection, and police and fire academies have been suspended.
As mayor, I cannot sit by and let COVID-19 continue to impact the services that our residents expect of us. Nor could I in good conscience put our city employees or the public at greater risk for transmitting or contracting COVID-19.
Councilmember Chris Cate, the last elected Republican in city government, cast the only vote against the mandate. He says he supports the vaccine but fears a mass exodus of employees. Councilmember Monica Montgomery Stepp says police in particular bear a responsibility to keep people safe, including from infectious disease.
I have received several videos from community members where they have been approached by officers who are unmasked, and it's very concerning to me that there's a 1/3 chance that the officer that they were approached by is not vaccinated.
Unvaccinated employees can appeal their termination. After that's exhausted, they can officially be fired as soon as January. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Jury selection is underway in the trial of a former La Mesa police officer who faces a charge of falsifying a police report. Prosecutors say Matt Dagus lied about the arrest of Amari Johnson near the Grossmont Trolley Station. Video from witnesses and body-worn camera footage show the former officer pushing Johnson down before arresting him for resisting and assaulting an officer. Charges against Johnson were dropped. Dagus was fired from the La Mesa Police Department, but has filed an appeal to try to get his job back. A look at records where police shootings have occurred in the city of San Diego reveals a vast disparity. Far more shootings happened south of Interstate 8 in communities where more Black and Latino people live. KPBS investigative reporter Claire Tregeser gives us a closer look. A warning, this story contains graphic images.
In February 2014, San Diego Police Department officer Cristel Miranda was serving a search warrant at Henry Luis Gonzalez's home. She saw him pull out what she thought was a shiny object in his waistband, so she shot him 3 times. It turned out to be rings on his fingers.
The intersection of Hagel and Benson.
In May 2016, Tongsoon Vilaysain was driving away from a house police said was used by the Oriental Killer Boys gang. San Diego police officers chased him in their squad car and then shot and killed him.
You guys all good? All good. Over your head! Driver!
That same month, members of the department's gang unit were doing surveillance at a known gang house on Skyline Drive and ended up in a shootout with the suspects. This time, no one was killed. These were among 7 police shootings over 6 years that happened in the 92114 zip code in Encanto. The cluster of cases in Encanto fits into a larger citywide trend. That's according to a KPBS analysis of almost 150 San Diego Police Department cases in which officers used force that led to significant injuries or death. Almost 70% of the use of force incidents occurred south of Interstate 8, and almost a quarter were in Southeast San Diego. In addition to Encanto, the zip codes with the greatest number of shootings were Logan Heights, Downtown, and City Heights.
Anybody who lives in those communities knows that the police tend to react differently than they do in communities that are north of the 8 or into communities that have less black and brown residents and communities that actually are wealthier.
Khaled Alexander, with Pillars of the Community, isn't surprised by the numbers.
If they were to treat people in La Jolla or if they were to treat people in Claremont or Coronado the same way, there would be immediate repercussions to their actions.
Police shootings almost never happen in San Diego County's mostly white and wealthy enclaves. Consider that in a 15-year period, the combined total in La Jolla, Poway, and Rancho Santa Fe was just 3. That's fewer than half as many as there were in Encanto alone, according to the KPBS analysis. Officials from the San Diego Police Department declined an interview request for this story. In the past, Chief David Nislight has said there are more arrests in communities of color, but that doesn't mean it's discrimination.
Disparities are going to exist because everything in society doesn't happen along the demographic line. And until that happens, you're going to have disparities. And that's why it's important to understand that disparity does not equal discrimination.
But Alexander says higher crime statistics in these zip codes don't justify more use of force.
The idea that there's more crime in Southeast San Diego than there is in La Jolla or other communities is a myth. What you have in Southeast San Diego and those communities are a larger police presence looking for crime.
Anyone in the car? Come on now!
The fear factor among police officers must also be taken into account. So says Ann Rios, a defense attorney.
I really think that what we need to be looking at is how do police view people in these areas? Do they view them as dangerous? Do they already pre-label them as gang members, as violent? Are they scared?
In Encanto, 5 of the 7 people shot by police were described as gang members or associated with gangs before they were shot, according to the police department records. In the past 2 years, San Diego County District Attorney Summer Steffen rolled out a de-escalation training program that includes implicit bias training. She says it's vital.
That is also dangerous because you're now not checking to make sure, do they have a weapon? What is their, what's their access? What are they doing? And then bias against a group is also coloring your ability to make intelligent decisions.
But for activists like Rios, there has already been more damage to San Diego's south of 8 communities than one de-escalation training program can fix.
This is a public health crisis that is happening to people and in areas that I love and live in. And I think that is incredibly scary. Folks are scared of the police. They are scared of living in their own neighborhoods.
Claire Tregasser, KPBS News.
And to search the police records and see a map of where these incidents took place, you can go to kpbs.org/police records. Our 3-part series continues tomorrow with a look at police chases. San Diego researchers are celebrating the completion of a massive new simulation machine that will help scientists better understand the ocean. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson shows us how it works.
Inside this 120-foot-long device, San Diego scientists will be able to recreate conditions found in the open ocean, and they'll be able to study them.
The waves affect the biology drives the chemistry impacts the bubbles in the foam. It's this beautiful and complicated system.
Dean says the simulator will allow scientists to turn their miniature ocean environment hot, cold, calm, or stormy, and they'll be able to monitor and explain how the ocean system impacts the planet.
We now know that there's this intricate dance between chemistry, biology, and physics at this boundary. What we don't know is how our behavior and our choices is changing that boundary.
The $4 million simulator will give researchers an unprecedented chance to study how the ocean interacts with the atmosphere. They'll be able to see if pollution impacts the ocean's ability to create clouds that can reflect heat, or if heat will change ocean processes.
There's a huge feedback between the ocean and the atmosphere, and that's what we're able to now study.
Prather says scientists will be able to control temperature, introduce wave and wind action, and they can do it in a closed system that keeps unwanted elements out. She says that's the key to understanding change in the water.
Our ocean is warming out here. We're getting more blooms, so more things are coming out. We also want to look at the health effects of these different toxic species that are forming in the water, what becomes airborne. And so we can do all of that in this system.
Prather will be among the first to use the simulator next year, but the device is open for research from any scientist who wants to travel here to use it. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
We're going to see our winds turn offshore here briefly for your Tuesday and Wednesday. Santa Ana winds do make a return. Along with that, a little bit of a warm up, nothing significant, but there's also no rain in sight. We're looking to stay dry here moving forward, so something we'll keep a close eye on. As we head into tonight, temperatures fall off into the mid-40s for you in Oceanside. We get down into the low 40s in Ramona, 53 out towards Borrego Springs. Or your Tuesday, temperatures are going to be about 5 to 15 degrees above normal again, as this high is going to be building and the winds are going to be turning more offshore here as we head especially into Tuesday night and Wednesday. Temperatures for your Tuesday getting up to 72 for you in Oceanside, 71 in San Diego, 61 out towards Mount Laguna, mid-80s for you in Borrego Springs. And then Wednesday, those Santa Ana winds really pick up and bring an elevated risk for fire danger from just north of Los Angeles to San Diego here. Gusts generally going to be about 30 to 50 miles per hour here, bringing also the risk of some blowing dust for you Tuesday into Wednesday. You'll notice that warm up just a little bit near the coast with temperatures getting up into the mid-70s for you for your Wednesday, then cooling off back into the low 70s and upper 60s, which is pretty seasonable for this time of year. Further inland, temps go up into the low 80s for you Tuesday and Wednesday, and then fall back down into the upper 70s Thursday, mid-70s Friday, and then back into the low 70s as we head into the weekend next Saturday. In the mountains, low 60s for you Tuesday, and then 50s through the remainder of the work weekend heading into the weekend. Plenty of sunshine though on the way. Again, no real rain in sight here anytime soon. And in the deserts, temperatures really don't change a whole lot here. Just a couple of degrees from, say, Tuesday all the way through next Saturday, generally sitting in the low to mid-80s over the next 5 days. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
State housing officials are looking for ideas on how to redevelop 2 blocks of blighted property in downtown San Diego. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the goal is to build affordable housing.
The state-owned lots just outside Little Italy currently house an aging office building, 2 dilapidated vacant buildings, and parking lots. Earlier this month, the state put out a call to developers interested in building affordable housing and other amenities on the sites. Stephen Russell, head of the nonprofit San Diego Housing Federation, says the large size of the lots makes for endless possibilities that could include childcare or a new park.
So what they've done is created a laboratory for experimentation. And the sector, the affordable housing sector here in town, is the most creative set of developers there are because of the challenges we constantly face.
The state's request for qualifications, or RFQ, puts an emphasis on sustainability. Russell says that could spark cutting-edge ideas like high-rise buildings made out of reinforced timber, which can lower construction costs and the building's carbon footprint.
So those are techniques that are not being used widely right now, that someone may make in order to prove the point and to get the extra points on the RFQ, may stretch themselves to try some experiments they wouldn't otherwise try.
The state hopes to select a development team by next May. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Today is Cyber Monday, the first work day following Thanksgiving. The name was attributed to this day back in 2005 when people shopped for online deals from their work computers. But with the supply chain issues, many consumers are shopping in brick and mortar stores instead of online this year to avoid shipping issues. Cyber shopping is expected to increase to a whopping $3 billion in sales this year. Millions of Americans lost their jobs during the pandemic, but something else happened too. Millions more left voluntarily. It's been called the Great Resignation, and Vanessa Yurkovich reports.
A simple task. Kate Santangelo picks up her 7-year-old daughter Grace from school, something she's waited years to do.
Do you recall how often you were able to pick your daughter up from school?
Oh my gosh, never.
But that all changed in April. She quit her 15-year career in sales to be home full-time with her kids.
I was working endless hours and traveling a lot.
If COVID didn't happen, do you think that you still would have quit your job?
No, I think I'd still be there. Yeah, without a doubt.
She's one of millions quitting the workforce in recent months. A record 4.4 million quits in September. It's being called the Great Resignation.
We had so much time that, we had to be sitting in our homes and spending time with people that we live with and just shifting priorities.
And she's one of 4.7 million business applications filed from January through October of this year, a 34% increase from the same time period in 2019. She founded Monmouth Moms, a resource guide for parents.
It allows me to take off if I need to bring, my kids to the doctor or, offer more flexibility in terms of when I can even schedule appointments for them.
It's not just moms leaving the workforce. Americans are retiring in greater numbers, too.
What am I looking at behind you guys right now?
That's our RV. Yeah, that's our RV. You got it in the background.
Scott and Mary Banks retired early this September at 57 and 59 respectively, and are road tripping across the country.
Packed up, strapped down, and ready to head down the road.
Scott quit his finance job. Mary left real estate.
I said, what would you think if we did it now instead of waiting 3 more years?
And I'm like, I pushed all my chips in. I'm all in.
1.5 million Americans were on pace to retire during the pandemic. Instead, that number more than doubled to 3.6 million.
And it was just that thought of, gosh, wouldn't it be just a tragedy if we spent all this time working for our retirement and then right near the finish line, you catch a horrible disease and die and never get to enjoy your retirement.
So they capitalized on the hot housing market, sold their home, and hit the road.
How is life on the road compared to the jobs that you left behind?
Gosh, I wish I could say it was tough, but no, it's great. I do not miss at all working right now.
And that was Vanessa Yurkovich reporting. The industries that have suffered the most from voluntary resignations are education, transportation, leisure, and hospitality. They're the same sectors that were having trouble keeping people even before the pandemic hit.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Dr. Anthony Fauci weighs in on the new COVID variant spreading around the world. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Hi, I'm John Decker. Thank you for watching Evening Edition on KPBS. Now more than ever, local news is essential to our democracy, and KPBS is committed to delivering local news in San Diego and the Imperial Valley. Evening Edition, along with our other services on radio, digital, and podcasts, is how our news team delivers the news to you. How can we do it? With a passion for accurate storytelling and a commitment to excellence in journalism. But most importantly, we do it with your support, our members, our viewers. If you've already donated to KPBS, then we thank you very much for your continued support. If you haven't had a chance to donate, now is a great time to show how much you appreciate the news we deliver. So please go online and choose a level, pick a gift at kpbs.org, or call or text DONATE at 1-800-576-5727, and thank you.
And here's another look at today's top stories. President Biden is urging Americans to get vaccinated if they haven't yet, as a new, potentially more infectious strain of coronavirus emerges. Omicron has already resulted in some travel restrictions after it was first reported last week in South Africa. Locally, infectious disease specialists at UC San Diego are on the lookout for the strain. San Diego City employees could soon be fired if they refuse to get vaccinated for COVID-19. The City Council voted 8-1 to approve the vaccine mandate that was proposed by Mayor Todd Gloria. Police officers have the lowest vaccination rate among city workers at just under 63%, and their union tried to block the mandate. Unvaccinated employees can appeal their termination. After that is exhausted, though, they can be officially fired as soon as January. And a legal setback for San Diego Unified School District's vaccination mandate. Today was supposed to be the last day students 16 and up could receive their first dose in order to be fully vaccinated by the start of the spring semester and attend classes in person. But a federal appeals court granted an emergency injunction to stop the mandate on behalf of a student claiming a religious exemption. Finally tonight, what word would you choose to define the year 2021? Merriam-Webster has made its pick with the word seemingly on everyone's mind these days. That word, you might have guessed, is vaccine. The publisher announced it as the word of the year because of the discussions both for and against that it inspires. Online searches for the word have jumped more than 600% since last year. And last year, Merriam-Webster picked another COVID-related word. That word was pandemic. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.